livelihood, needs money. We need to live on money. Okay, we need money to live. That's the thing. So it is a norm to see people working 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day, even 14 hours a day. Okay, to get those money. So if they cannot take, if they have to take care of the children, 12, 13 hours a day of working, it will tire them out. Okay, it will tire them out, and then they have no rest because they have to take care of their parents. No rest means you're tired. Oh, you can get burnt out. Burnt out means you have lower performance at work. Lower performance at work means you will get fired. That's the thing. Consequence, when you get fired, you have no money. You will have to direction, and then you also, as a children, kill yourself because of that. The parent kill themselves. The children also kill themselves. That's the thing. Okay, think of that too. And then it is just not ideal for you. It's just not ideal for us to just punish them or forcing them to take care of the parent, because it's just not ideal. It's a punishment to the children. Yeah, the one who can afford it, good. But if not, think about it legally wise. Broad your horizon a little bit. And then these children also, the ones that have married. Okay, we have seen a lot that children that nowadays people marry early, right? 20 already married. These children also have kids, also have their own children. They also have to take care of their own children. So that's why it is very so to take care of your parents and your children at the same time is gonna very tiring. Okay? It's gonna be hard on them mentally and economically. And then and then you need to also to think about the people that work offshore, the oil and gas situation, the people that needs to go somewhere. That's why before I continue, I need your eye. Okay, of course, no, right. And then let's talk about the mental health of the children also. They also have to think about themselves. 24 hours, 24/7 a day taking care of your parents it's gonna tire you out. Okay, you cannot have time for you. Okay, that's why it's gonna try. That's why it is very tiring and hard for these people or to take care of their parents. Okay, especially nowadays where our mental health is very important. That's why. And then if you were to take care, or if you, like I said, like every elderly person or elderly have their own problem, like especially the psychological one. You cannot even live for 1 hour. If not, they will take a throat tantrum or go somewhere else. We don't know. That's why it is very very dangerous for us to take care of the parents, especially with this kind of mental institutions. Okay. Now, that's why I, as the leader opposition, proudly oppose this motion and close my case. Thank you.
Not bad.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister from the government team, Mr. Lutfi Haikal, to continue proposing the motion. Please welcome.
Hello, am I clear?
Yes, you are.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to the judges, educators, and fellow debaters, and the audience in the YouTube live. All right. First off, I would like to give a quote by a very handsome and bald man. I don't have friends, but I have family, and you don't turn your back on family. All right. Members of the floor, I would like to address some opposition arguments that were given by the leader of the opposition. Okay, first off, the opposition mentioned that in his counter mechanism or in his alternative solution that we could implement state facilities that the children could send their aging parents to. All right, first off, I would like to clarify that state facilities does not mean it's free. They are still funded, and you actually have to pay to put your parents in there. And also, when you say state facilities is better than the children taking care of themselves, I hope one day you will be in the state facility, and then you'd see how much you regret being in the state facility rather than being taken care of by your children. All right, I would like to address another opposition argument that adults above 18 years old and they have no work experience. First off, actually, I would like to address that the government gives many incentives to parents who are incapable of working anymore, who have retired or who are medically retired. Like you have mentioned, the parents who need professional help, yes, the government has provided incentives to support these wheelchairs, medical support, what do you call medical support wheelchairs and whatnot. And also, I would like to mention that the Prime Minister has clarified that what he means by taking care, it's not just economically, but also emotionally. All right. So say what happens if your parents were sick. Would you say, oh no, I have work, I cannot be there? No, of course you would want to visit your parents, you'd want to be there, right? So when we say taking care, it's also mean providing support emotionally, just being there, being beside them in their medical bed if they're sick, for example, and you don't neglect them. All right. Okay. I think that was the leader of the opposition's arguments addressed. All right. So now I would like to move on to our arguments. Okay. First off, I would like to mention all right. So when the Prime Minister had given the argument that by legally requiring adult children to take care of their aging parents, it would foster a sense of family unity. All right, because there are laws that enforce childcare because physically and intellectually, children have to rely more on adults. So what about aging parents? All right, aging parents, they're quite similar to children in the fact that they require support. Like you mentioned, they need, for example, your alternative solution was that they could be sent to state facilities, which means they actually need support. Okay, because when you become older, your brain cells shrink, you have less energy, you need someone to support you. All right, so by having the adult children to take care of these aging parents, rather than having a random stranger in some random state facility, I think by having your own children, it would build a sense of family unity. The family would still be together. If you send off your parents to the state facility and you visit like, I don't know, twice a year, and then you come back and you see how much your parents have forgotten about you, how much they don't know about you and all that, right? And also, I would like to address that the leader of the opposition has said that children who have just finished high school, the adult children who have just finished high school, who are just over the age of 18, you said they're not financially capable and whatnot. But actually, the government has provided many incentives. For example, in Malaysia, they provided the Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah, which provides incentives to seniors who are not capable of working anymore. So basically, when I say that these government incentives can support these aging parents, so the assumption here that I'm making is that government incentives are sufficient to support these parents. Okay, why do I make this assumption? It's because the fact is, these aging parents, who are not capable of providing income because they are not working anymore, they actually receive less tax, they receive more benefits, they receive more incentives that are given by the government. So all these children have to do, you said fresh graduates who just finished high school, who don't have any work experience, all they have to do is just be with them, invest some time to them emotionally, so that these parents have someone they can emotionally connect with. And that relates back to my argument, which is it provides a sense of family unity. When you're just by being there with your parents, I think your parents would be very happy. Say, for example, right now, you're in your university and you go back home. I think your parents would have a big, big smile on your face. I think my parents would have a big, big smile on my face if I went back home, right? I think all of us have that same experience. Who doesn't want to go visit their parents, right? I think any sane person would want to visit their parents. And I think any parent would want their children to be with them. All right. Okay.
Both kill themselves.
Yeah.
Children and parents kill themselves.
Yeah, and you mentioned so uh one moment. Okay, so you mentioned how when these children have to support their parents, it will lead to them killing themselves. Not just the parents, but also the children. Actually, not just the children, but also the parents. They would be killing themselves because of the burden they have on them. All right. Do you actually think just because of them not being to support would lead them to killing themselves? No, because the government provides benefits to ensure that these parents are quite comfortable. And all these children have to do, like I mentioned, all these children have to do is be with these parents. They just have to be emotionally support them. All right. So it benefits both the parents and the children because the children, they can be with their parents, and the parents, they can be with their children. It promotes a sense of family unity, like I mentioned earlier. All right. So with that, that's all from me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, I would like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Mr. Ahmad Shafiq, to present your arguments. Please welcome.
Okay. Can you hear me? Am I audible to all? Or should I raise my voice?
Yes, you're audible and clear. Thank you.
Clear? So I don't have to raise my voice, huh?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, give me time. Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, honorable opponents and distinguished guests. I stand before you today as the opposition to proudly oppose the motion given. Well, as the representative of the opposition today, I only stand for advocating one thing, that is the power of questioning. I believe that progress stems from critical thinking, challenging the status quo of today, and presenting different alternatives in different perspectives. Through this lens that we will approach the motion today, engage in thoughtful discourse, and shed light on the complexities that the government are clearly missing today. We will present coherent arguments based by evidence and logical reasoning. We recognize the importance of today's motion, and as a deputy leader of opposition, I am very, very committed to highlight the flaws that arises from their proposals. Now, do note that our aim today is not to undermine the government, but rather to foster a healthy debate that brings forward a comprehensive understanding towards this motion today. I am urging all participants to actively listen, analyze the ideas presented by me, and evaluate them from different perspectives. As Robertson Davies used to say, the eyes sees what the minds are prepared to comprehend. After all, it is through this process of thoughtful deliberation that we can achieve the most effective solutions for today's motion. Before I begin, I would like to rebut what the government has stated. For the rebuttals, I believe the point that were given from the government were totally baseless and irrelevant. How can the government say we don't have to pay? Is there, and at the same time, they said that we have governments that subsidize all these things. Is it the mechanism of what they are saying is not relevant? Next, they are saying about incentives. So what are you saying? How can you say about economic and then you're saying about incentives? Everyone knows, especially in Malaysia, we are having incentives of taking care of fostering old people. And then they talk about emotionally. Of course, you can provide emotional support. We do understand. We do not send this to healthcare. We do not abandon them. Nowadays we have cell phone. Nowadays we have cell phone to keep in touch with them. What's the point of legalizing it? It should be something sincere. And the most sincerest thing for a generation nowadays is to send. It is better to send them to healthcare rather than to not know how to take care of them. Then the government proceeds to say the family unity. How does legalizing this foster family unity? If anything, it forces the connection. Again, the question is it a wise use of resources to legalize this? What is the impact? I don't see what the governments are trying to prove here. I move on to the points on why the opposition are clearly is going to win this motion today. First, the personal choice. Taking care of aging parents are not aligned with personal goals and opinions. Some individuals may prioritize other aspects of their life. For example, nowadays are not the same. We have to focus on careers, we have to focus on our life goals, and we have to focus on our own well-being. Every individuals have their own problems nowadays that shape their lives and their responsibilities. The government knows this. Individuals have financial constraints, demanding career, and young children to take care of. This requires their full attention. In this case, it might be difficult for someone to allocate time, resources towards taking care of their own parents. Not all family relationships are positive. Not all family relationships are healthy. I believe in this room, we have hard upbringings that make nowadays our relationship with our parents not that healthy. In some instances, individuals have strained relationship with their parents due to unresolved past conflicts or traumas. For example, especially in Malaysia, all of us here are having hard upbringing, and this is good. But parents who put hands towards a child whenever they mistake is not relevant to today's method. This can make it challenging to assume the role of a caregiver for my children, as it may bring negative emotions and additional stress. So personal choice of not taking care of their parents leads to someone to prioritize their mental health and emotional well-being. And I move on to the second point, which is the expertise. Caring for an aging parent often requires specialized knowledge, skills, experience, especially when it comes to medical and psychological care. Note that our parents are aging. They're not as healthy as they are. Not everyone possesses the necessary expertise to address the needs of the aging parents, and it might be more beneficial to rely on the professionals. For example, professional caregivers can provide better care for aging parents, especially when specialized medical care are provided 24/7 when needed. Opting these options can ensure the best possible care for students. Before I continue any further, are there any POIs? Do surprise me with your eyes, no? No, okay, I'll move on. In some cases, a person may feel like their expertise lies on different areas, such as their professional field and their careers. This might bring their time, skills, or resources to better use. They might believe that their time, resources, and skills are better utilized in their work rather than directly taking care of their own parents. In such situation, to hire a professional or seek assistance is not seek assistance from others who have expertise in elder care. So caring for aging parents often involves managing health conditions, medications, and medical appointments. If someone lacks expertise and medical background, a loving child may worry about making mistakes. We love our parents. Don't get it wrong. We love our parents. That's why we're sending them to professionals. That's why we're sending them to a healthcare. This is why relying on healthcare professionals is important so that they can spend the rest of their remaining lives happily. Expertise does not always equate to emotional readiness. Even if someone has substantial knowledge, skills in elder care, or want to take care of their own parents, they may not feel like they are ready emotionally equipped to handle this challenge that comes with taking care of aging parents. By opposing this motion today, we have the opportunity to wield a new governmental influence towards creating a positive society and especially towards a better Malaysia. I am never been more proud to oppose.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Leader of Opposition. Moving on, I would like to call upon the government whip, Ms. Dia Elman, to continue proposing the motion on behalf of the government team. Please welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to state that I agree with my Deputy Prime Minister when he mentioned that we don't turn our backs on our families. Before that, good day I bid to the adjudicators, my fellow debaters, speakers of the House, and also the audience that are watching the live streams right now. Okay, first of all, I would like to state how I would like to argue the rebuttals. I would like to argue the rebuttals given, the arguments given by the opposition themselves. When the leader of opposition, he mentioned that everyone is working nowadays and they don't have time to take care of their aging parents, yada yada yada. Your parents, once upon a time when you were a child, your parents were working too. But do they neglect you as a child just because they are busy? Is it right to neglect children just because they are busy? That's just so selfish coming from you. Just because you are busy doesn't mean you don't have responsibilities to take care of people that are surrounding you. It doesn't. These kind of concepts, these kinds of responsibilities, just doesn't apply to aging parents. It's also about your families, your sibling members, your friends. When you have that kind of sense of responsibilities, subsequently you also have the sense of responsibility to take care of your parents. If imagine if your parents doesn't, if you what the kind of world that you are trying to imply right now says that because we are busy, just because we don't have time, we are financially incapable, let's just neglect them. That are the kind of world you are trying to implement right now. And you even mentioned that you mentioned about fresh graduates right now are financially incapable to take care of their parents. The opposition fails to comprehend the definition given by our Prime Minister again and again and again. We've defined taking care as supporting emotionally, economically. When being there is enough. If you are financially incapable, just by being there is enough. Imagine the kind of world the opposition is trying to manifest, where the parents are neglected by the child, not just in terms by their adult children, not just in terms of financial and also emotional. Okay, eventually it could align to the extreme example given by the opposition leader where the depressed elders will kill themselves. Yeah, if they are neglected by their children in the end, when you send them to state facilities, they are alone. Yeah, if they are depressed, yeah, they will kill themselves. Those are the kind of extreme examples given by the leader of opposition himself. And our deputy leader of opposition also mentioned that it is better to send parents into health or state facilities, but again, they still can't comprehend how expensive these facilities are. Your arguments mentioned that fresh graduates is not financially capable. But what if what we are talking about fresh graduates? Let's say there are a lot of high school graduates that faces struggles with parents that have strokes. In those kind of cases, why should if they you also give an example, you also give an argument that these children need to focus on their careers and future, yada yada, but they still need the resources and they still need the time to take care of their parents. What happens if their parents have health problems like stroke? They still need to send their parents. You say that it's better to send the parents to state facilities, but again, it is expensive. The cost can go up to thousands, 2,000, 4,000. It is more expensive than taking care of them by your own. We have a lot of incentives. The government literally provide a lot of incentives to counter this kind of issues. Now, I would like to summarize again the arguments given by our side. We mentioned that the reason why we support the motion, which is the House would legally require adult children to take care of their aging parents. The first analysis that we've mentioned is about it is a way to reciprocate the care given by the parents because we are implementing a society where we support the idea of family unity and we are fighting against neglection in family relations. It doesn't just apply to parents, it applies to everyone. If you want to neglect your parents, then why are we so against parents neglecting babies? At certain point, at a certain extent, your parents, when human brain cells are limited, at certain points they might face disabilities, and those disabilities can lead them to behave like children again. So what if those are the common issues with aging parents? They can face dementia. If you are trying to implement a world where we just simply send them to state facilities and you just simply go there. Why can't parents do that to their children? Why can't they just why can't they just focus on their career, focus on their future? Why can't they just do that? And the reason why we strongly support this motion is because the status quo in our world currently is that there are an increase in the number of neglected parents, and this is not the kind of value that we would implement in this community. For example, the statistic given by my Deputy Prime Minister, which is the Statistic Department of Malaysia, has stated that there are 30% neglected elders that do not receive financial support in Malaysia. In cases like this, are we just gonna rely on the government of our nation to resolve this issue? Are we only relying on the government to lend a hand to these 30% neglected people? Don't we have responsibilities? Our responsibilities is not something that we have to take care of. Where are your values and morals and your ethicals in family ties? The second analysis we gave is about fostering a sense of community. Okay, there are laws that enforce childcare because physically and intellectually, children have to rely more on adults. So what are about aging parents? I have given this argument earlier. Human growth phase goes like this. They come from babies and they turn to adolescents and then turns into adults, and in the end they become elders, old grandpas and old grannies. All of you will become old grandpas and old grannies. Imagine one day when your brain cells cannot reproduce anymore, and let's say I'm not praying, but let's say that you people surrounding you have problem with dementia, where they really they can't rely on themselves anymore. They are incapable to rely themselves anymore. Of course, we need children to take care of us. That's why we support the legalizing adult children to take care of their aging parents. And lastly, we also mentioned about the incentives by the current government for elders. We have Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah. We have those kind of incentives where for the elders or elderly with deceased wife, they are given 600 ringgit mentioned. These are the incentives to support financially unstable individuals. You are giving examples that fresh graduates, they are financially incapable. But what about these incentives?
Thank you, Ms. Government Whip. Moving on, I would like to invite the opposition whip, Mr. Amir Zahid, to present your arguments. Please welcome.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Mr. Speaker, I want to say something. This evening, I'll be going to the clinical posting at Hospital Sultan Nur Zahira Terengganu. Why? Because I'm a medical student. In this debate, the government side didn't understand anything about medicals. So I, as a medical student, I will set the debate today and destroy the argument given by the government team. I will tell you the truth of the hospital situation. So the main point that you need to see is that if they are healthy, if the parents are healthy, they can take care of themselves. If they are sick, they need the medical professional, right? Then moving on to the first speaker of the government team, he's telling us that there are time, there are love, there are care. But I want to ask you, is obsessed love is good? I would consider that obsessed love is foolish. You cannot trust that you love your parents. There are broken families in this world. In this kind of world, yes, you might say that there are good family, but there are broken family. There are kids, there are children that were not taken care by their own parents, and they would simply say that, oh, these children need to take care. They need to take care of their own parents because they are already taking care. The parents take care of them during their babies, during when they are children. But what about the broken family? How are you going to prove that? I hope in the reply speech from the government team, they prove to us that the broken family, that the kids of the broken family can take care of their own parents. Other than that, that the first speaker did not mention about the incentive in your own mechanism. And then suddenly you want to blunt out, the second speaker blunt out saying about the, oh, we want to give that this incentive, we want to give like the economy incentive, we want to help the medical incentive. I want to ask you, if you want to give the medical incentive, do you really know how to use all of that medical devices? Actually, the answer will be no, right? Because you don't have the capabilities. You are not a medical professional. You are not in the situation in the hospital itself. And that the statistic given by the first speaker that this is the statistic given that parents that were abandoned by the children. Then I want to ask you back, what about the statistic, the children that were abandoned by their own parents? You didn't want to bring up this issue because when you say that parent is parent and children is children, children need to take care of their own parents. What about these children that have been abused, that have been neglected of by their own parents? Do you want them to take care of them? So we already provide you the counter mechanism, but you say that our counter mechanism is not the best thing that will help in this kind of world. Because other than that, the third speaker mentioned that, oh, we want to have that two kinds of world, that world of neglect and world of and another world. We already state to you, you are the one you are the one that creating that. We are saying that world of neglect. But on the other case, we already tell you that we want a world that we just want to send them to the state facilities, which are the nursing homes. We already tell you the counter mechanisms that we want the nursing home. Nursing homes are taken care by the nurses, by the doctors. They have others of healthcare professionals that can take care of their own parents. If you like really knows about this certain of medication, I would assume that you just only know about the paracetamol itself. That's the only
POI.
medicine that you know. Okay, accepted.
Can I clarify? Did you say that we created a world where children neglect their parents when we provided statistics?
I already got
from
your
the
point.
Department
Already got
of
your point.
Statistics?
Okay.
Yeah.
I already got your point. Your third speaker suddenly mentioned that we created a world that we want to neglect the parents. Well, on the other hand, we tell you that we want a world where there is a nursing home that you can send the parents to that place, that the state facilities. But you didn't understand what we are trying to say. You're just mumbling everything. You just want to say that, oh, we are the one who create the world of neglect that parents, but you are the one that created that world. And they want to prove that we are the one that created. The next thing that you say that we have sumbangan tunai rahmah and others incentives that we can give to this kind of people. Okay, then I want to ask you this question that you need to answer in your reply speech. Is it really that sumbangan tunai rahmah is enough to help this 18 years old person? Is it really enough? I would assume that it is not enough to take care of their own parents. They just graduated from the high school and then suddenly want to say that, oh, they can help the parents because of this incentive, because other this incentive in the hospital. And then the next one I want to say about the hospital situations, right? Yes. In the case of the hospital, in the scenario, we need to take care of our patient. Me myself need to take care of my own patient. I'm the one who cleaning the feces. I'm the one who clear out all the urine. Are you willing to do all of this? Because in the real situation, all the caregivers in the hospital, they are not willing. They ask, oh, can you help me cleaning the feces? Can you help me cleaning all the urine? Because they are not willing. They don't want to help their parents. They don't even want to help their own family. And then you want to say that you want to say that you want to legally require them to take care of their parents. So I would give, which is that alternative for the government team lah, which is that you should not be legalized it because we have our own choice. We already tell you the points from our side, which is that the first point given by the leader of opposition, which is the time and mental health itself. The second point, which is about the personal choice. We have our our own choice. We can do whether that we want to take care of them, if we don't want to take care of them. We have our own choice. This is the basic of human rights that you didn't understand. And then the last one is about the expertise. Medical and healthcare professionals is essential on taking care of parents who are sick. And then the last one you need to know is that we already mentioned to you about the status quo, that everyone is working. They don't have the time to meet or expertise, especially in the suffering communities. We are in the post-pandemic time. And then the last one we already provide you, the counter mechanism is that it's better for the government to establish a nursing home where elders can be taken care of. This only for those who required care. So I'm from the opposition side, proudly to oppose this motion. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Opposition Whip, for your speech. To proceed with the next agenda, we will now continue our debate session for this round with the reply speech session. The reply speech shall be delivered first by the opposition team. Therefore, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmad Shafiq to deliver his speech and conclude their debate. Please welcome.
Right, wait. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, let me set it up first. Starting my reply speech in 3, 2, 1. Respected audience of today, I stand before you to express my firm belief that sending our aging parents to professional today is not a wrong choice. It is a compassionate decision. As our parents age, it becomes more challenging for us to provide specialized care for them. These facilities offers a wide range of benefits and resources that can greatly improve the quality of our healthcare. I will start with this quote, a great quote. Courage, after all, is not being unafraid, but it is to do the right thing. We love our parents. Who does not love our parents, right? But however, the government today has failed to convince us on why it is important of the motion today. First, many clashes, but I will only highlight 2 as I have only 4 minutes. First, they said to legalize by incentivizing. They did not even mention any mechanism that details incentivization. Besides existing subsidies, which is not relevant to this motion. You name me one subsidies that related to healthcare, related to aging parents. Not one. So it is a no-brainer that we make the better case today, as the mechanism of our mechanism today is to protect the elderly better. We love our parents. Despite everything, we love them. That's why we need to provide the best healthcare possible. We propose that government funds the state facilities so that it's free, but they keep saying that to legalize, to give incentivization for what? You're supposed to have your parents survive on 200 monthly instead of sending them to professionals. We are telling them to allow state and facility healthcare professionals to care for them. This does not mean that we neglect them. This does not mean that we does not love them. I've heard the government whip say that where our empathy and stuff like that. Are we saying to neglect them? We're not. I have yet to find the speech of our side that said we need to neglect them. That's why we're sending them to the healthcare. If anything, we are taking care of them. That's why. And they're saying about gratitude. We're saying about us sending them to healthcare and not taking care of them and stuff. By sending them to healthcare, we are giving them the best possible specialized needs. Next, clashes that family unity and emotional support. Of course, as children, we can be emotionally present. They're telling us to be present. By sending them to healthcare, we cannot be present. You can't force children from abused families to emotionally support their abusers. How many of us cannot see our abusers? We are, like I said before, we are raised by upbringing. Some of us have an abusers. We cannot face them. It does not need to be legalized. The government kept on saying legalizing and incentivization. It does not tally to what the motion of today is. Why do we have to force children to take care of them? What's the point of individual autonomy? What's the point of autonomy in Malaysia? the choice and mental health is up to them. People have the autonomy to make the choice that's best for them. And we have mentioned that we have mentioned countless times before. We have mentioned that if it's best for them, they will have gold ties with their parents. Like I said, we want the best for our parents to spend the rest of their living. If forced connection and care happens, children will be depressed, the parents will be depressed, and that leads to the point that they are trying to oppose against us, which is to suicidal and mental health care. I have never been more proud to oppose today, as we believe this motion has been won by the opposition. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative from the opposition team for the reply speech. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Afdal Ilhan from the government team to proceed with their reply speech and conclude their debate. Please welcome.
Hello, greetings.
Quite unclear. Maybe getting closer to me.
Hello.
All right.
All right.
Wait.
Yeah, wait up.
So, can you hear me? All right. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, Assalamualaikum. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, respected opponents, esteemed panels, and members of the floor. Thank you. Thank you again for inviting the government to this discussion. Now it is time to wrap up our debate and introduce some clashes that went on during the debate. So due to limited time, I would like to elaborate deeply on clashes that happened, the main clashes that happened. So the main and important clash in this debate today is that basically the opposition failed to support the mechanism, stating that state facilities need to be paid by the children, and opposition failed to rebut our counter argument. They are saying this baseless, and they are providing the best case scenario with no evidence found, they are saying this baseless. Their arguments are filled with assumptions and hasty generalizations that do not support the claims made by all of their speakers. They said that they said something about us saying high school fresh graduates they are not well off to pay off their children. But again, we mentioned time and time again, we will gradually support. We cannot support them. We can support them emotionally and gradually support them economically. They also mentioned something about professionals. Professionals also need to be paid. Again, they mentioned this, and we already mentioned this. Professionals also need to be paid. It is not cheap to pay for these professionals. Myself, I have experienced this, and I need to take care of my grandfather. It is 14,000 to take care of a grandfather who has stroke. This is not cheap. And that's all they said. They don't even counter our arguments. So on the other hand, we, the government, has stated our case, which we need to gradually support our parents, not financially, emotionally, starting with emotion. And then the government has also said that the government has also said that the opposition also said that the opposition also said that they say they do not neglect, but they're actually neglecting their parents. They're actually by letting their parents go into foster homes, say state facilities, they take care of the parents. They're actually neglecting. They are putting their responsibility in others' hands. And we also have explained, and they also fail to understand that the government, we already have mentioned the incentives given by the government, such as the example given by the government before. They fail to counter the argument. They fail to understand. So I suggest all of the opposition, please read better. And they also said that the children don't have time. Well, if you're as we mentioned time and time and time again, if you were a parent, you wouldn't say to your children, you will have time. You would say to your children that, oh, I'm going to send my children to another home. You wouldn't say that. But you yourself right now are neglecting your parents. So simply said, whatever the opposition said, it is simply heartless, unethical, immoral at this point. It's no wonder that we shall win this motion. I clearly, we the government clearly support this motion, and we are trying to incentivize and trying to legally require adult children to take care of their aging parents. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative from the government team for the reply speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now reaching the end of our session today. Congratulations and thank you to all debaters from both teams for your wonderful, informative, and fruitful speech. Before continuing with the result, I would like to ask Mr. Arif, are you ready for the result? Or would you have to have some time?
Just give me 5 minutes and I'll come with the verdict.
All right, for sure. Just tell me whenever you're ready. Mr. Arif, are you ready for the result?
Yeah. So is everyone here?
Without
Okay,
further ado,
so
okay. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the adjudicator to provide your comments and verdicts, as well as to announce the results for this round. Please welcome.
okay, so before I give the verdict, first I would like to give some general comments. So one thing I would like to say is that I think this was a very it was a good round. One thing that I think could be improved is engagement. So I think this could look more like more POIs, because I felt there was one thing that I liked in this round was probably a lot of POIs for each speaker. So I think in future rounds that's something you want to try to do, because it can help you a lot. And as both teams, it can help you a lot. As the team that POIs, it obviously helps because you can like point out stuff in the arguments of the opponent. But even as someone who receives the POI, it helps you because if you get a POI and you're able to answer it well, then it shows that you are very like well structured in your case and things like that. So I think engagement is just one thing you should try for. POIs is something you should try to do more in your next round. So, okay, so the result is as follows. I gave this to side opposition. So I repeat, it is an opposition win. So why did I feel that I think opposition won? So I think this debate was a bit, like I said, I felt it was a bit lacking in engagement, because usually debates have like people argue on one clash. So like there's one metric that both teams will try to argue the gain. So like, let's say in terms of who helps poor people the most, usually both teams will try to argue that they help poor people the most. But this debate I felt was a bit like two people are arguing two different things. And so it was up to whether which thing I found was more important than the other. So what did this look like? I think government came up first with a very like a very intuitive and I think very easy to understand point, is that it's generally a good thing, because obviously protecting your parents is something that's good and it's something that's a good deed, and there's a principle for you to do it. There's a principle obligation because your parents obviously took care of you, and so you have to reciprocate the care that your parents gave you. So I think that was a very straightforward and very easy to understand case coming from government. So they also mentioned some additional stuff saying that like, oh, because they gave up like how in status quo that there's an increase in the lack of parent care by their children. So this probably leads to parents being neglected, parents like being depressed or things like that. And this is why you need to foster in a sense of family. So from Prime Minister, I think it was very easy to understand that. And I thought that was something that could be credited. So what did opposition come to say about this? I think opposition countered quite well by saying that, okay, another thing government says that because parents took care of their children, therefore children should reciprocate and take care of their parents because it's something that's equal. At face value, that was something I bought. So the reason why I think opposition countered this well is because they mentioned that it's not really something equal. You can't say that a parent taking care of the child would be the same as that child later on taking care of the parent, because there's a difference in which the parents, first of all, have worked a lot and probably have the better capacity to have the child, because most parents obviously make a decision to have a child. They don't just suddenly have a child and then aren't ready to take care of it. Most parents, when they have children, means that they've already thought about having a child. They've already thought about, okay, am I ready to have a child? And they made all the preparations. So they actually have probably worked enough, have enough financial stability to take care of children. The difference is that when you are a child who has to take care of parents, it's usually not at the time you're ready, because this could look like in many ways. Like if you want to say that as soon as they become adults, they have to take care of their parents. This looks like, as I think opposition said along three speakers, that means the moment I turn 18, I have to start taking care of my parents, even though I've just come out of college. I've not probably even started university yet. But just because I'm an adult now, I suddenly have to take care of my parents. I'm not ready. I have not made the preparations, because I don't think when I was 15 or 16 or 17, I was thinking about, okay, in a few years, I'm going to take care of my parents, so I have to start preparing now. It's probably what's probably was on my mind more was the fact that, okay, I have SPM, I have A levels or things like that. I have STPM. So I don't really have time to prepare myself mentally when I turn to 18, suddenly be like, okay, I'm going to start taking care of my parents. So I think that was something that I think was sufficient enough to counter the argument about how it's reciprocation and that it's an equal value. Because the delta is that parents have more preparations, parents made the choice to want to have children, whereas these children aren't ready for it and they don't even have the choice. And this even looks like, what if the parent suddenly gets like a disease that causes these children to have to take care of them in a specialized way? And I think this was exactly where opposition comes in with their argument in that. This is where opposition comes in with the argument that I felt was the debate winning argument, is that people generally don't have the knowledge to take care of their parents. Because when opposition says that they'll have state facilities to run it, this looks like having medical professionals, having people who actually opted into the job, people with the knowledge to take care of parents. Because what if the parents, like, I think there are extreme cases where parents have like dementia or have like Alzheimer's or very like hard to treat diseases. So obviously you as a child who, if you have no medical experience, you're not able to take care of it. Therefore, it's best to leave it to professionals. And that was something that I think obviously opposition wins. But I think even if you don't take such an extreme case, let's just say the parent doesn't have any disease, but he's just like, you know, suffering from old age, probably has like bad joints or like just aches and pains and things like that. I still think opposition sufficiently told me why the average person probably doesn't know how to treat that. Because I think most people in this room, like let's say your mother or your father suddenly has a slip disc or suddenly fell down the stairs and just gains like a normal injury, you probably don't know how to treat it more than just giving like first aid, even if that. So I think even in non-extreme cases, I think opposition told me why it's very hard for children to, even if they wanted to understand actually how to treat their parents properly, even if they really did and they really like, it was something that's very much what they intend to do, why they probably don't know how to do it, and it could risk them actually making it worse because they're just not, instead of sending them to the hospital or to special care, they'll just be like, no, I need to handle this, so I'll do it myself. And then they won't actually solve the problem. So I think that was the main argument coming from opposition in terms of actual like utility, in terms of the actual ability to protect the parents. So I think another reason why the way government responded to this was not really to respond to it, but they gave a different argument, which I think could have gone further, but because of the way they characterized the actors in this debate, I fell flat. So I think the way the government came out and said something that I think was a bit like probably what they could have won on if they had explained it better, was that financial support probably isn't the main thing or like actual care, but the most things that probably parents need is emotional support and things like that. So I think this was something that's obviously you can only get on your side, because like for medical and financial, you can get other ways, but only the child themselves can actually give the parents the emotional support they need. No professional can do that. But the reason why I felt, even though you thought it was very important, why I didn't really credit it is because the way you characterized it, because you mentioned in the beginning how there is a neglect in parent care. So when you say that there is a neglect in parent care, you're painting a picture that most people probably don't really care about their parents, because if they did, there wouldn't be so many people who don't take care of them. And when you say something like that, it obviously means that these people just don't care. And if they don't care, I'm not really sure why, if you tell someone to suddenly take care of their parents, they're going to give them emotional support. Because if I didn't care about my father or my mother, and then you tell me to take care of them, I'm probably just going to take care of them by like giving them money or like just visiting them once in a while. I'm probably not going to give them the emotional support, because you can't force someone to give emotional support. That's where it's either they won't give it at all, or it'll be disingenuine and it won't really be the emotional support they need. So I think the way you characterized it by saying that most people don't care about their parents and then you're forcing them to do it, you can't really claim that they're going to suddenly give genuine emotional support. I think it was Opposition Whip or DLO that mentioned how there's no point in it. Emotional support and things like that must be sincere. There's no point in forcing someone to just be emotionally there for someone, because it's not going to work if they don't really care about them. It's probably just going to look like, if you force me to stay with my father, I'm just probably going to sit in the same room with him while he does his own work and I just look at my phone. So I'm not really sure that, I don't think government gave me enough evidence to show that these people are actually going to give the emotional support once you tell them you have to take care of your parents. So I felt the emotional support argument, I couldn't credit as much because you didn't really mechanize me why exactly it's going to happen. So now I think there's the final clash, which I think was a bit both ways, because I think another one was about cost. So like, which side has a higher cost to get their solution? So I think it was quite intuitive for government to point out that opposition's one would cost a lot, because if you have state facilities and things like that, that's when you have people who probably have to pay higher taxes, or just that's because there's going to be a lot of government subsidies and things like that. It's obviously going to cost money, which will probably come from the taxpayers, and therefore it's going to cost much more. But opposition also tried to flip this by saying that, okay, on government side, you also have costs, because when you force these children to want to take care of their parents, you probably have to take care of them financially, and this looks like giving them money. The way government countered this was by saying that, okay, we currently have government incentives that already like make things cheaper for senior citizens by like giving them discounts or like tax breaks and things like that. But when they say that, I'm not really sure why then there's a less cost on government side, because you're giving these, because you can afford to give the senior citizens tax breaks or cheaper stuff, that subsidy also has to come out from the taxpayer. So I feel like, fine, maybe facilities and professionals cost more because you have to pay for the wages of the workers. But if your side also has some form of cost and you both sides are like a bit like, you can't accuse someone of having a lot of cost when you also have cost, unless you prove to me exactly why that cost is much more. But because you didn't really paint a picture as to which cost is higher or how much this cost looks like, I'm just going to think like, okay, both sides have a lot of cost. One is maybe slightly higher than the other. But if both sides have a cost, I'm not really sure why it's something that matters much in the debate if both are going to get the cost. And the way I weigh this is that even if opposition has a much higher cost, I still, because of their previous arguments in that the state facilities are just run better, because sure, it might cost a lot more money, but you know the money is going to be effective because the money is being spent on professionals and being spent on state-of-the-art facilities as opposed to just children shelling out money and giving to their parents, and then their parents probably have to choose how to spend it themselves, or the child has to choose how to spend the money for the parents, which they may not know. So I think in terms of weighing that, even if opposition side costs more, I feel the money is being used more effectively, and that's why they take this debate. Another one, I think that was something that was a bit auxiliary, but I still credited on opposition, was that what happens to children who probably were mistreated by their parents and like don't have the obligation to, because again, government's mechanism was that it's an obligation to reciprocate the care given by your parents. But what about children whose parents treated them and didn't treat them well? Like, why should they have the obligation to do that? Because if you want to say that children just won't treat their parents well, I think both sides have to agree that if the child actually did care about their parents, either way, they're going to help their parents, whether or not you legally tell them to. So I think that the reason why opposition gains its benefit is that it gives an option for the children who have had bad parents to decide, I don't want to do it because it's bad for my mental health. Because if I'm going to have to take care of my parents who treated me unwell and mentally abused me and things like that, it's going to be very bad for me, and I need to take time for myself. And I think this is something that comes from side opposition that stood sort of untested, that was not replied to throughout the debate, and that's another reason why I gave the win to side opposition before. Okay, that's why I gave my verdict. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you to the adjudicator for your verdicts and feedback. We hope that all debaters will take note of the comments given to improve themselves in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the photography session, and therefore to all adjudicators and debaters, please kindly turn on your camera so that we can proceed with the photography session. All right. Everyone ready? In 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your cooperation and for your time spent here in this debate round. With that, thank you so much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You may dismiss the room.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Congratulations again
Thank
to
you,
everyone.
sir.